Hey guys, welcome back to Smoke Sessions with Sarge. I'm Steve, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Macanudo Cru Royal, a little bit of leadership, and I'll be giving you your first Army story. So stay tuned, and we're going to have a great time.
I've seen some souls be friendly, I've seen some feet get loose. I've had some people in my life who know just what it do. I try to look for goodness even when I see bad.
Hey guys, I'm really excited to bring you this stick tonight. So the Macanudo Cru Royal is probably one of my personal favorites. It's kind of an underrated stick. When people talk about good sticks or amazing sticks, this isn't one you hear guys say a lot, but I've never known somebody who'd smoked one and had a bad thing to say about it. What I really enjoy about this stick is it's really complex in development and what all goes into it for the price. So I typically pick these up for anywhere from $3 to $8 a cigar. It's a really reasonable handmade cigar. We're going to talk about the parts of a cigar a little bit. So when you look at this cigar, it looks like most Maduros. Really dark wrapper. You smell it, and you get that strong, kind of oily, in your face, pungent. The cap has a little bit of leather, a little bit of earth, a little bit of pepper, everything you would expect from this type of cigar. What's neat about this one, or cool about this one for the price, is actually pretty in depth. So when you go to the filler, so the main body, like the meat and potatoes of a cigar, you have a triple filler. You've got some Dominican Habano seed filler, which is a tobacco leaf grown from seeds taken from Cuba. You've got a Nicaraguan filler in there, and you got a Brazilian filler in there. So you've got this really pungent, great balanced mix of tobaccos. Wrapped around that, you've got a binder. So the binder is that outer leaf over the filler that holds everything together, keeps everything in place, adds another layer of flavor to it of that Habano seed, Dominican Republic again. Adds a little bit more pepper, just a great choice. And then on the outside, bringing everything together and making this a really dark, beautiful, oily finished cigar is this great Brazilian Maduro. Most people describe this as a Colorado Maduro just because it's so dark and chocolatey in appearance. They range everywhere from Oscuro, and once you get into it, you start learning the different things. Everything black to me, I just automatically call it Maduro or Ligero. There's proper terminologies that people that are much more, which say well-educated than me in the cigar world use. So this is one of my favorites. Like full disclosure, as I smoke this thing, I'm going to be excited about this cigar probably more so than other people, and for a multitude of reasons. Would I say it's in my top 10 or the most amazing cigar I've ever smoked? No. But is it a cigar I can pick up every day and have the same experience? Absolutely. It's a cigar I can grab when I get in my truck and I'm driving to work and I can smoke it. It's a medium bodied. It's not so strong that the rest of the day all I'm tasting is cigar and all people can smell on me is cigar, and I can open the window and within a couple hours my truck no longer smells like cigar. That's a big deal to me for a cigar I'm going to smoke in the morning or in the middle of the day. It's a short enough cigar, 45 minutes to an hour. I can take it out to the field, I can take it to the range, and I can smoke it without worrying about losing too much of a cigar. And then it's inexpensive enough that if something happens and I've got to toss it to the ground, I'm not crying because I just threw out a $15, $20 stick. So the way I kind of judge cigars, it's one of the best bangs for your buck, in my opinion. So you're tasting the cap, getting a little bit of the pepper, maybe a little bit of chocolate. And you can definitely tell it. This is a oily, medium to full-bodied stick. You're not going to lose out on anything on this. Construction is great, really veiny, but it's not anything overall bad. Nice, solid cap. Tonight I'm going to use a straight blade cutter. Not one of my favorite things to do. There's certain cigars I love them on. I typically prefer a punch or a V-cut. But this paleo cutter, great, nice, sharp. I haven't had any problems. You guys go to liquor stores, you go to cigar stores, you see like the $2 cheap throwaway guillotine cutters. I'm in the opinion, spend a little bit of money on a cutter. There's nothing worse than ruining a good cigar with a cheap cutter. Take enough cap just to open her up. first dry pull, I mean, awesome flow throughout. It's not a tight at all. Getting more of that earthy flavor that I'd expect from this type of cigar. A little bit of grass. Definitely something I'm excited about. I've smoked probably more of these cigars than any other one, to be honest. You guys will see me get excited about cigars, but definitely in a different way than I do about this cigar. This cigar is like an old friend to me. So right off the bat, you're getting really good smoke production. Getting a lot of earth, a little bit of leather, a little bit of chocolate. Nothing overwhelming, but just really pleasant. Easy, consistent burn, lit real well, lit really even. You know, everything you'd want. And the construction from a cigar, when you start looking at how it builds and how it holds together and it gets lit. So from the get-go, pretty excited. It's got the flavors I want, good light, good construction. So why did I choose the Cru Royal for my first Army story and talking about leadership? This, like I said, this is my field cigar. If I'm going out into the field, I'm going to be out there for a couple days. I'm going to be out there for a week or two. I can guarantee you I've got 4 or 5 of these in my travel humidor. I've got enough for myself to smoke, enough to hand out to my guys. Because it's just that stick. And then you start talking about leadership. Most of my leaders growing up were veterans or still in the military. And then I joined the military myself and learned a lot of leadership through that way. I would say the biggest impact on who I've become as a leader and the way I treat my subordinates and the people I work with and the people I'm mentoring, I learned from my father. My dad's retired, 32 years Navy Master Chief. I know he's my dad. He's still one of the most amazing leaders I have ever met. He gave me my first lesson in leadership. Like a lot of youngsters, my first chance of being a leader came in the Boy Scouts. I'd been elected to be the troop leader. I was having a hard time getting my friends and the other kids in the troop to do the things I needed to do. And I was getting really frustrated. I was 12 or 13. I was still developing as an adult. I wasn't sure how to deal with my emotions. I thought my friends should want me to excel and they should be doing things to help me out. You know, like little kids would do, and like a lot of us do as adults, they were looking at me and going, "You're not the boss of me. You were just me a couple days ago. I'm not going to listen to you." And I remember my dad sitting me down and going, "Dude, check it out. I'm going to give you some advice." He said, "Don't ever ask anybody to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. And if it's something that really sucks, make sure they see you doing it as well. Because that's going to make them understand that you're willing to do it, and they're going to want to do it to be with you and be part of you. And they understand that you're not doing it just to be a jerk or because you don't want to do it." And that stuck with me. That was a big deal. He also said, "And make sure whatever you ask them to do, you're not caught doing something that goes against it, and that you're able to check back up on it and have some sort of control over it." And those two things I've lived by my whole life, and I've judged every one of my leaders on it. If the leader's ever asked me to do something and I felt he wouldn't do it himself, it made me judge him a little bit. If he's given me 50 tasks and I know he's only able to check back up on 5 of them, it makes me question their leadership a little bit. Now, I'm in the Army. I'm a soldier. I would never go against or behind or anything like that against anybody that I'm subordinate to. Orders are orders. As long as they don't break the law, I'm doing them. So don't get it twisted and think that's what I'm saying. But there's always something in the back of your mind that hopes you get a different leader, or you're not going to have to go to war with that guy. And those are things that really stuck with me. And when I say my dad is probably one of the greatest leaders I've met in my life, like this guy was to the point I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him. To include, I ran into a young Navy guy that he was in the process of kicking out. And we were talking, and in the process, I learned my dad was actually the guy kicking him out of the Navy because of mistakes he made. And the guy was really honest, and he said, "You know, he's treating me real fair. Like it's better than I expected. And a lot of guys I've dealt with in my career, they're getting kicked out for mistakes they made. They always blame the guy that's kicking them out. They call them assholes, this, that, and the other. And the guy was really honest, and that meant a lot to me. It's put a lot of stock in the things I've learned from my dad. So moving on from there, I had different other opportunities in my life to be a leader and be in charge. I mean, I've always kind of put that against things. So like one of the greatest leaders I've had in the Army was a man named Captain Don Racimo. Lived up to if you're going to ask your guys to do it yourself. To the point, we're sitting in the middle of nowhere, Iraq, on a little base of like 50, 60 people, literally pooping in 50-gallon drums, and then having to burn those 50-gallon drums twice a week. Out there, it's like noon, 1 o'clock, it's 120 degrees. I'm burning poop, it's my turn. Captain Racimo comes out, says, hey, bro, go take a nap. You've been doing this long enough. It's my turn. And there's no reason to do that. No reason to relieve me, no reason to do it. And he's still one of the greatest leaders I've ever met. This dude could call me tomorrow and I would do anything I needed to help him out, be on his team, work for him again. And that's those little things that really kind of matter when you start talking about leadership. So first rule of leadership, if you're going to ask your dudes to do it, make sure you'll do it yourself and that they see you doing it. It matters. It makes a huge impact on their life. So moving on a little bit later on in my life, I had left the Army and I ended up in the National Guard. In the National Guard, I ended up the head of Operations Cell, and I was responsible for about 12 young guys. And we'd go out and we do weekend drills. Anybody not familiar with the National Guard, it's 1 week in a month, 2 weeks every year. You go out, you play like you're in the Army. It's like the greatest cosplay around, right? So as I'm taking over this section and we're doing things, I hear a lot of bitching amongst my guys because what they're doing week in and week out, they go in, they put up a tent, they sit and watch the radio for 3 days, tear down the tent, go home. These guys didn't join the Army to do that. They wanted to do Army things. Like the great Colin Powell once said, it's when your guys start bitching that you need to worry. Because that means they no longer trust you to fix it. So I decided I was going to fix it. And I set up some hip pocket training. So just some non-committal training for my guys. So 2 guys would watch the radio and we were going to go outside the tent. And they were going to get training on how to load and fill a radio, and then we're going to do some land nav, how to read a map and go from point A to point B. If you're a leader, you should always be teaching those below you to do what you do. So they're ready to move up, they're ready to advance. And then if you're not around, they can take care of things. So I'm not teaching this training, my guys are teaching this training. But also as a manager, as a leader, you want to observe and make sure things are being done. Beautiful sunny day, we're out in the woods, hanging out. I'm going to do like I'm going to do. I'm going to sit in the back. I'm going to light a cigar. It was a Cru Royal. I guarantee it. And I'm going to watch my guys do their training. So the training's going on. My guys seem happy. They're getting to do some Army stuff. They're outside. And I look over my shoulder and I see the Sergeant Major. So this is the highest ranking enlisted guy for those that aren't familiar with Army ranks or with the military. And walking next to him, I shit you not, is Ichabod Crane. This guy is 6'4", maybe 100 pounds at most. His nose sticks out further than his helmet, and the only thing that sticks out further on his body is this wad of frickin' chewing tobacco. This dude had a softball on his lip. So automatically, anybody who's been in the military assumes if they're walking with the Sergeant Major, this is most likely the BC. This, Big Pooba, the battalion commander, he's in charge of everything. And I start getting within range, and I get ready to do what anybody would do and call the group to attention, and he does the wave off, which all right, that's how, when you're in the field, you're doing training, that's normally how it goes. He sits there and observes for a while, and he leans over and he goes, hey, Sergeant, I need to talk to you behind the tent. Like, okay, cool. Not sure what's going on. I've never met the guy. I don't know what his personality is like. He'd just recently taken over the unit. And we go behind the tent, and he looks at me and he goes, Sergeant, I want to tell you thank you for finally doing something with these guys. and I want to give you a pat on the back for doing some training. That's good stuff. He's like, but we do have a problem. I was like, oh, okay. What's the problem? He looks at the sergeant major and he goes, Sergeant Major, do you want to tell him about my policy? And the sergeant major goes, no, sir, it's all you. That automatically, like, my spidey senses go off, and that makes me think this policy is not something that this sergeant major believes in. If he's going to look at the battalion commander and go, hey, that's your policy, you do you, it's already making me think a little bit. He goes, Sergeant, I noticed you're smoking a cigar right now. Hey, Roger, sir, I am smoking a cigar. He goes, and you don't think smoking in front of your soldiers is a bad example. Now, keep in mind, this dude has at least a full can of Copenhagen in his mouth, if not more. I go, not really, sir. I see tobacco as a way to relax. It's a great way to build relationships, build businesses. I've never seen it as a negative thing. He goes, well, I started command policy. There's no smoking during drill. Going back to leadership rule number 2. Do not have something that there is no way for you to control, check on, and make real. There is no way that he is going to keep track of everybody and make sure they're not smoking. There's no way to enforce it. There's no way in the Army to check for tobacco use, or it's one of those, you can put it out and nobody's going to follow it. And it goes back, if you're going to put out something that's kind of stupid and you know people aren't going to want to do, make sure whatever you're doing doesn't brush up close to countering it. So you can't look at somebody and tell them about your anti-smoking program with enough chewing tobacco for a month in your lip. So I give him the head nod and I put my cigar down and stomp it out. And Roger that, sir. It's your priority. It's your prerogative. That's what you're doing. And he starts to regale me with all the evils of smoking and how it's going to ruin your life and kill your lungs and ruin your PT score and this, that, and the other. Normal stuff you'd get in an anti-tobacco campaign. And all I'm thinking to myself is, man, you got that much fucking mud in your mouth. Like, how are we having this conversation? And the next thought I had was, how do I get out of this unit? And because all I could think is, if this guy is going to get wrapped so much around the axle about something like this, what else is going to bother him? What is going to be a problem down the line? If I'm in combat with this guy, what other thing is he going to try to put out that's going to kill morale or influence my ability to finish a mission? Because he feels it's against something he doesn't like, while he's essentially doing the same thing. I spent about 2-3 more months with that unit, and then I went back on active duty. But it really hurt my relationship with that battalion commander, and it put a lot of distrust in me with him. Am I still going to do everything he tells me to? Of course. Am I still going to trust him to a certain level? Of course. There's a reason the Army has promoted him to that point. But it definitely put me in a position where I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a lot of things with him. I didn't want to fight to be with him. I didn't want to fight to go with him. And it was something that stupid as making a policy that he couldn't enforce and then blatantly being almost on the opposite side of that policy. So I know it's not a war story, but there's your first Army story. All right, so we're about halfway through this Cru Royal. As you can see from the amount of ash it's holding, it's a really well-constructed stick. When you start getting long ash, that means things are well built. It's all holding together. It means most of the filler is the same length. Probably filler runs the full length of the cigar. It keeps consistency in the flavor. It's built this really complex palate. I don't have the words to describe it all. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I taste vanilla and nuts, and I taste a really rich smoke, a little bit of leather, great pepper on the backside if you like a peppery smoke. It's there. It's what you'd expect from Habana leaf. You can taste that the oils that should be in the tobacco leaf is still there. It hasn't dried out. It wasn't lost in the carrying process. It's just a really pleasant smoke. And I can't say a bad thing about it. Is it amazing? Is it the best cigar I've ever had? No, but is it a cigar I'm going to still smoke on a regular basis? Of course. So we're talking about leadership, and a lot of things I talked about the military and this trust and this willingness to go to war with somebody. And I know there's probably people going, well, what does this matter? I work at Walmart. I'm a manager at Sherwin-Williams. If you've ever worked in the corporate world, I have a little bit, and I worked retail for a little while. A lot of people don't trust their managers, and they're not going to work hard because of that. A lot of people are underpaid, so it's going to make them even more upset about having to do dumb stuff, especially if it's stuff that they think their manager is just throwing on them because they're not willing to do it. But I guarantee you, even in some of the worst jobs and the worst situations, with the most unmotivated and unhappy workers, if they see you throwing in and having that shared misery and doing those things, they're going to be more willing to do it for them. If they see that you're putting out a policy that may not be the most favored and that you don't exactly agree with, but you're adhering to it as much as they are, it's going to make your voice matter. So I know not everybody's in the military, not everybody's going to experience the things I have, but these are leadership tools and tricks that spread well behind that. It's a good way to treat human beings in general. And it's a way to build respect amongst yourself and your peers. So thank you everyone who's listened to this so far. Next week, we're going to talk about attention to detail. I'm going to smoke what I consider is the world's most expensive Opus X Lost City. And we're going to talk about making stupid mistakes. If you're enjoying this, share it, tell your friends, give me some feedback, like, follow, whatever you're going to do. Go over to Instagram, follow me there. Thank you guys again. Appreciating all the love and all the support I'm getting out there.